Well, good evening, everyone, and happy Father's Day. Welcome to the Miami BK Meditation Center, our online third Sunday World Peace Meditation program. But today is a very auspicious day. It's a very happy Father's Day. It's also the International Day of Yoga. It's also the summer solstice. And in some parts of the world, it was even a solar eclipse. So it's a very auspicious day. And it's my very great pleasure today. We have a super special guest. Craig Gordon is a father. Thank you, Craig, for spending some of your Father's Day with us.
Glad to do it.
He's a yogi, he's a hatha yogi, he's a Raj yogi, he's been a dance teacher. That's what I remember you as, first of all,
Yeah.
Craig. And he's been a Raj yoga student and teacher longer than I have, I think, and I've been with 25 years or so. So how long have you been studying?
Oh, it's around, I don't know, 30 years now.
30 years. You started when you were about 4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so thank you all for joining us, whether you're joining us on Facebook or on YouTube or watching us live or watching later on, because this is a very, very special time that we're in. And tonight particularly, I keep calling this Sunday very auspicious, and somebody says, well, why is it auspicious? It has a lot of symbolism. Each one of these holidays you see on Facebook, so many people remembering their fathers. And for some, we don't have our fathers anymore, or fathers are separated from their children, or families are without a father. So the qualities of fathers, and Craig is going to be sharing with us some ideas about that, the quality of fathers are being very much highlighted today on Facebook. And with the International Day of Yoga, this was proclaimed by the United Nations a few years ago. And it's one of the few things that got general UN sanction across the world. I think everybody realizes now that the benefits of yoga, that we need yoga, and that it's time for us to do yoga in all its forms. So tonight we have the opportunity to engage mind, body, and spirit in our third Sunday World Meditation program. And before we get into meditation later on this evening, we'll talk a bit more about world meditation and how you can be part of this growing global movement. So with that, I want to introduce Craig, turn it over to him, and we're going to begin with some hatha yoga tonight. We'll then have an interview with Craig on some of these aspects of fatherhood, and then we'll conclude with our regular third Sunday World Meditation half hour tonight. So hope you'll be able to stay with us for the full time. So thank you, Craig. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. All right, here we are. Hi, everyone. My name is Craig, and I'm a practicing Raja Yogi. As Kathy just said, and we didn't really discuss each other about this, but we came up with the same ideas about it being so auspicious. I was thinking of it as a convergence. And so first of all, it's World Meditation Hour. And for the past 20 some years, every third Sunday at 6:30 in the evening, BK Raj Yoga Centers have meditated for world meditation every third Sunday without fail, month in, month out, year in, year out. And really, if you look at today, we really need that world meditation. So it makes a convergence. Not only is it that, but today's also happens to be celebrating this year, celebrating the 75th anniversary of the United Nations. And again, if you think of that term, United Nations, you could say connected nations. And if you put that word into Hindi, connected means yoga. Nations in yoga, united connected nations in yoga. It's really what the whole idea of the original League of Nations was all about, but it's so difficult for everyone to get together. But we need to have some cohesive force by a small group of people, like the Brahma Kumaris starting as a small group of people in India back in the 30s, and it's blossomed into over 100 countries now and hundreds of thousands of practitioners. So eventually that reaches a critical mass, and when that is reached, we will reach connection with everyone. So we can all join in now with our own little part, minute by minute. I've been through a few of these programs together. The first one with the United Nations was the Million Minutes of Peace. It was a little before I came in, but I loved the idea. You just donate a minute of peace of your time. And they collected many more. They conduct millions of minutes of peace. I was very impressed. The United Nations was very impressed that it was able to be taken care of in that way. The third aspect is that, as Kathy had mentioned earlier, this is the International Day of Yoga. It's been agreed upon, the United Nations agreed upon something for the first time unanimously that I ever know of, because yoga has become very popular. People realize how important it is. Like, one of the ways that I spend my time in a worthwhile way is by teaching and practicing Hatha Yoga, which is different than Raja Yoga. In Raja Yoga, you have yoga. In Hatha Yoga, you practice the yoga. So you're getting ready to have yoga by practicing the postures. And today also being Father's Day, and I guess that's why I was chosen to help out tonight, is that I'm a yogi and a father. So I thought, what a nice idea it would be if I could get my 11-year-old daughter to help out with me and show you a few poses or some breathing today. So I don't know, she's kind of shy. So I have to say the magic word. 1, 2, 3. Om Shanti. There you are. Hi, everyone. Come on around. Come on around. Take a seat for a moment. This is my daughter, Malaika. She's 11 years old. And although she's not so much into the yoga part yet of practicing yoga, occasionally I get her into class. She's more of a ballerina. So would you be willing to do a few poses with me?
Yes.
We're going to call it a breath and a pose. So let's start with the breath. We'll do 2 versions, one kind of the more mature version like me, and then the younger, more agile person version like Malaika. So you sit on the floor, and I'll sit in the chair. Get close in so the camera can keep you in there. Beautiful. Take any cross-legged position. There we go. Can you get that a little bit lower perhaps so it tilts down? Okay, very good. Sorry about that. So let's do the breathing first. We'll do that one breath that you liked with the 4 breaths in, 4 counts to breathe in, 6 counts to hold, and then 8 counts to exhale. But before we even get to that, we have to purge the body of all the stuff that we have in us. So let's take a big inhale. Open your mouth and let it out. Don't be afraid to practice at home. Do it again. Inhale. And let it out. Well, I feel better already. So now let's do the breath that I just spoke about. When you're sitting in the chair, you don't need to use the seat back. Sit up straight. Put your hands on your thighs. Your feet about hip-width apart. You can sit however you like. There. Maybe your hands on your knee. There you go. So inhale, 4 counts. Retain the breath for a count of 6. And then very slowly let it escape out the nostrils over 8 counts. Let's do it again. Inhale. Retain. Exhale. And one more. Inhale. Hold. And exhale. There. And that's better already. The breath really does help to connect the mind to the body. And by doing the postures, which we're about to do now, see, to have yoga is really with the mind. That's the real yoga. But if your mind is being bothered by, oh, I got a stiff back or my foot hurts, it's kind of hard to concentrate and keep the mind still. So that's where it always comes, is the reason we're doing the poses, the reason we're doing the breath, is to get ourselves towards stillness, towards silence. Taking a breath again, and just think of the word silence. Please do it again. Inhale. And silence, just to help the mind calm down. So let's get into the pose for today. Today we're going to do a twist, as it's the spine that is more important than any other point of the body to loosen up. And if you're real stiff, if your back hurts, very hard to meditate. So I'll do the twist seated in a chair, and you can do the twist standing.
Yes.
All right. So let's start by just taking the left leg. I'll use my hands, but you can lift it by yourself. So you can see there's two ways to do it. You're in a hurry there. So just bring the leg up and down and up and down and up and hold. Just hold it there. Try not to lean back or lean to the side or hold your jaw or hold your breath. Sit as tall as you can. Take a couple breaths here, just doing this. How you doing? Good. Now extend your left arm forward as far as you can, really straight. You can put your hand on the chair. And then just straight up in the air. Don't go back yet, just straight up. And then slowly and gracefully back. You can grab the chair, or like Malika, just do it like that. And look way over there, take 2 breaths. Now drop your chin and turn it all the way to the other side to get a little bit out of the neck too. And then release it, and then gracefully bring your foot to the floor. And then come to the other side. And do the same thing. Move up a little bit so we can see it. Ready? Notice I keep my posture and keep the breath going throughout. Just because I'm not telling you to breathe, continue a rhythm of breath that gives you support. So just lifting the leg, the right leg this time, and down, and lift, and down, and lift, and then hold it. 2. Now release the right arm forward and stretch it out. Keep the shoulders down. And then all the way up, really stretch high, and then all the way to the back. And look out over the hand. Good. Take a couple breaths. And then drop your chin and bring it all the way over the other side. Keep holding the chair. You really want to do kind of a show-off thing. Grab your foot and extend the leg up into the air and release. Good. Come sit down for a second. You know, I got Father's Day is more than giving Dad a greeting card once a year, but I got that today, and a song and a little breakfast. It was really sweet. And money, she gave me $5,000 in Monopoly money. It was great. And remember, you told me about some qualities. I said, what are 3 qualities that you think are very important for a father to have when raising a child? Is it different for a son or a daughter? Or you think it's the same?
Yeah, it's not the same.
It's the same. So what are those qualities?
Patience.
Patience.
Kindness.
Kindness.
And trust. And your
Trust.
kid trusting you.
Yeah, to feel trusted, about secure or safe. I think that's true also. So we came up with a pose about an hour ago to show trust. So let's take a version of the same pose we just did. Let's move the chair back. Good. And do the same pose. Step about there. Stand on your right leg. Bring your left knee up in the air. Beautiful. Now put your left arm straight up. And I'll do a pose called the Warrior 2. You can do a version of the tree pose, but we're going to do it together, and it's all about trust. And you just let yourself go and trust your father. Trust your father. And up. Little turn. Thank you very much. So one more. You wouldn't say something? Okay. Cross the right foot behind the left. Stand really tall and keep your body stiff. So this one's, let's move back a little bit more. There we go. So here, ready? And boom, boom. Off you go with a grand jeté. Thank you, Malika. So we've had part of the auspicious day, let's review quickly, is the World Meditation Hour. Summer solstice, longest day of the year. United Nations 75, Unite the Nations. International Day of Yoga, and then the one that seems to be the word of the day, Father's Day. And as I just said, Father's Day is more than giving Dad a greeting card once a year. It's a connection. And I was thinking about fatherhood, and I came up with 4 different aspects of fatherhood. We'll go over again later, perhaps in an interview with Kathy, but it doesn't hurt to say them again. Is that number 1, and we all have this, I had a father. We all had a father. That's how we got here. And so I just like to acknowledge that for a moment, that how I see my dad, what he gave me. And first of all, he was nothing like me at all. You know, there was the sitcom years ago, I don't know if anyone's old enough to remember that, called All in the Family. And the character Archie Bunker, my dad didn't know it was a satire. He thought the guy was right on. So he was very focused on his thoughts. But the one thing, even though like I'm a vegetarian, he couldn't understand that, why I would want to eat that rabbit food. He accepted me the way that I was, and he lived with me the last 6 years of his life. And he ate what I ate, and he never complained about a thing. I didn't let him cook meat or anything in the house. He never, ever offered anything negative toward me. One interesting story is that I'd often spend time in my room meditating. And he used to call that talking to my buddy. And I can remember one time he walks by my room, knocks on the door real hard, knowing what I'm doing, and says, "Talking to your buddy?" And then keeps walking and laughs. And I said, "Don't bother me, I'm trying to be peaceful." So I got a really good lesson out of that one. It still gives me fun to think about it. So I had a father. Number 2, I am a father. In addition to Malika, my 11-year-old ballerina, she has an older brother. His name is Gabriel. He's a bit older. He's old enough to have a child of his own. He has a 4-year-old son. So I texted him the other day, and I asked him, I'll read it to you. It was something like, "Hello, son. I've been handed a little project, and I'd like your perspective on the subject of fatherhood. What attitudes and skills do you consider beneficial to a father in being a parent? And what are your desires for your child? See you soon." The next day, he gave me a reply. It's as soon as he's ever replied to my text. Number 1, patience. And this is the part that got me. Make his interests yours and genuinely enjoy the time together rather than wait until it's over so you can go do what you want. How many parents are guilty of that? Father with love, tenderness, and wisdom have much closeness, both physically and emotionally. And what I want for him is to be confident, stable, secure, empathetic, and loving. And the reason I give him a good education is I want him to have the ability to communicate. I just thought that was sweet and couldn't be said better by anyone else, and I realized how lucky his son is. So, I had a father, I am a father, and here's the concept of God. God the Father. Around the world and all the religions, probably in fact, I'm gonna come sit down on this level. There we go. I like that a little bit better. The relationship that people have most with God is of the Father. But if you just think of that word for a moment, Father, and then apply that to your own relationship to your own parent, that if you called your parent father, what kind of relationship does that tell you that it has? Maybe respectful, definitely. Maybe in awe, definitely distant, perhaps even fear. And maybe not really knowing the father fully, but just in kind of in silent awe. And I want to behave, so please don't punish me in any way. And one thing I remember about first coming to the Brahma Kumaris is that the word that they use for God is Baba. And when you take that word Baba and translate it into English, it's dad or daddy. So look at the difference between that. Father or daddy. Which relationship is closer? You know, I often ask people when they get a little justice oriented, and I say, do you want a just God? And they say, oh, absolutely, I want a just God. I say, let me put it this way, in another way. Do you want a just God or a loving God? And I've never heard anyone say, yeah, they want a just God when loving is an option. Because that's really the relationship we want to develop the most, is the loving relationship with a father, whether it's with my own father, with my own children, or with God, is develop a loving relationship of easy flow of energy and of receiving the inheritance. That's what fathers do. So I have to discover what is the inheritance from God. This is what spiritual study is all about, is discovering what these things are all about. Teaching, what teachings do I get so that I can live my life better? How should I treat others? And what do I teach and how do I teach? So I was thinking of what is the ratio of love and teaching. I was thinking love first, then teaching, then a little more love, then a little more teaching, then love, 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 and then teaching. And then you find this term that's very popular in this era, which is unconditional. And it means just that. It's unconditional. Like the biblical story of the prodigal son. It's the same thing. It's an unconditional love that no matter what you do, you can be loved. And that's really what I notice about parenting is that I realize that I'm really an instrument. I'm not doing this for my benefit, and there's no need for me to expect a return on that of what I'm giving. And what I'm giving is a legacy so that of any positive thing, that whatever I want them to have, that it can live on through them. See, I noticed that in all the, I'll probably repeat this again later on, but it's a big part of this. What I realized by being a dad is that the more I treat everyone else like I treat my daughter, the better that my relationships were. And I started putting it into practice, and I found it to be true. I had a client who's in her 70s, and I still teach dancing as well as hatha yoga. And I always call her my second oldest daughter, because whatever things that she did not learn in her own 7 or 8-year-old stage, it means that those things are still there. Those blockages are still there. So until she's nurtured past that, she can't go on to become a whole person. So that saying, it's never too late to have a happy childhood, is true. There's no such thing as you should know better. And that's the whole thing about, and that's the fourth part of this whole thing about, I had a father, I am a father, God the Father, and lastly, that I am a father / parent / guardian for the entire world. Well, that's kind of broad. For the earth and the world in general, yes, like we're going to do world meditation, but really more specifically to my world around me. Think globally, act locally. So what are the conditions of my workplace? What do I bring to my workplace? what am I teaching the people who see me? So it's the environment that I live in and the people that are in my personal life. This is what I can affect. I can't have effect of what's happening a couple continents across. That's why I often tell people that, oh, I want to go out and do something for the starving children on another continent. I said, well, first, learn to be kind to your mom. That's where it starts. So it's healing these relationships that are closest to me. That's what's really going to help me. And that, if I'm expecting a return, that doesn't work so well. But when I can take the attitude of not necessarily a parent, but like an elder or a guardian, an instrument, that's the word I like. As an instrument, that's what a parent really is. A father is a very close instrument. And the instrument doesn't ask for a return. An instrument merely gives what it's supposed to do. If you're kind, then your job is to give kindness. If it's understanding, you give understanding. As I had a lesson today, in our own lesson today, one of the points that I liked was, no matter if someone is giving you stones, you give them gems instead. Give them jewels, because they're not here to serve you. You're being served because you've learned to have a relationship with God the Father. And so by allowing that to flow through me, it goes right through. Well, I think that's about it for my segment. Kathy, if you're there, I'm ready for the next segment of the interview portion.
Okay, well, Craig, that was wonderful. I did the breathing, and I have to tell your daughter how beautiful she is. I see a
Yeah.
future principal soloist at
She really, well,
major
she's
dance
already
company.
been very lucky to get some principal work even at her young age. It's just she's a natural, and that's why I knew she would be shared very easily. I mean, 2 minutes before she was giving me the Dickens just to throw me off a little bit.
Just to, just to upset you.
just so that I could prove, just so that I could be what I'm saying I am. It's really been a wonderful experience to be held accountable in such a beautiful way.
Yeah, it's great. And Gabriel, so you're also a grandfather.
I am also a grandfather. Yes.
And a grandfather too.
Yeah, I have no idea how that happened, but it just happened.
Yeah, well, and you're a world father.
Yeah, so that's all true. So it is really auspicious, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Go ahead.
And I've so many things I really want to ask you, and so many things you said that we could do a class on, half a dozen things that I have in my notes. But as I was listening to you and listening to all the qualities, you know, the acorns don't fall far from the tree, as they say, all those beautiful qualities. But I'm thinking, what is all that about? And you tell me, but it seems to me the essence of fatherhood is all about relationships and being an instrument or being in service to all those people in your growing family to enable each of them to flourish in their own way.
You know, as you were saying that, I could start feeling it bubbling up inside of me. And the word that came inside was taking responsibility. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened. It's because I felt that I've received so much, like why I'm so lucky and so fortunate to be able to be filled with so much love and power and a positive outlook. Like I don't really know what suffering is like anymore. And then I take that as, well, I can't keep it to myself. So it's a natural responsibility. I like that term, those who are familiar with the Gita, those who take responsibility, Arjuna, what you do with your gift is share it. And I was just thinking this morning, it's one of the very few things in life when you share qualities, and it is all about relationship. In fact, when life gets narrowed down to its essence, it's all about relationship. And I've been lucky enough in my life to meet so many people. I've seen many people leave life. You know, I've been there with them. And the happiest people in their old age
Mhm.
are the ones that have the best relationships.
Right.
And the people realize at that time that relationships cannot be, they're not goals. They can't be attained. They're just experienced. Okay, shut.
We lost your video, Craig.
Yeah, someone, there we go. How are we?
There you
Again,
are.
there we
There
go.
you are.
Yes.
So you were talking about, you've seen people. There you go.
Yeah.
We're
So,
here.
in fact, someone was trying to call me who didn't know that I'm on this event. So I think that's taken care of now. But see, these
Okay.
are the things that happen. See, these are the things that happen in life. And it's just, everything that comes by, you just accept these things that are coming by and adjust to that, because it's not really a big deal. And what I find that what I appreciate in seeing people is authenticity. Like, anyone can read a book and recite, but when you see someone in real time responding in a way to an unforeseen event, in a way that they just have a relationship with it. So again, it's a relationship not just with people, it's a relationship with what's happening around me. It's a relationship with our world, like the world that we're in right today in our country. It causes a lot of people a lot of pain.
A lot of, yes.
Yeah.
I want to follow up on that too.
Okay, I didn't want to throw you off.
No,
On
no,
with your
no,
questions.
you're not, because you're talking about the pain. And one of the things I was going to say is that, it seems to me that for many of us that didn't either have a loving father or didn't have a relationship with the father, you said it yourself, that not knowing the father causes a lot of pain. And you see people, that's a pain, that's an emptiness that needs to be filled somehow. And
That's
so
true.
on this Father's Day, tell us a little bit more about how knowing the Father, even if you didn't have a father in that ideal way, how can you fill that space in your heart?
I was just thinking that as you were saying that we're all orphans in a way when we don't know the Father. And even sometimes, many times I've refrained from even using the word God when speaking, because it brings up experiences for people because they have already a concept. And in the same way, the word Father has the same thing, dependent on what is my personal experience like.
Right, yeah.
So it's my personal experience that becomes a burden upon me, that weighs me down, that keeps me from exploring. And so if I just think of myself as kind of an orphan, and then what so often happens is, what is the quest of an orphan? Is to find out who their father is.
Yeah.
Who are my parents? And so this is just a microcosm of the real issue, is who am I and where do I come from?
Yeah.
Who is my father? And that's why that the basic foundation course of Raj Yoga is so powerful for people, that they could be highly educated and very successful in many ways, but in this area they're having problems because these words give them problems. The Father, God. It just is that you got to be very careful. Just saying the word sometimes, it sends someone, they leave the room because they don't want to hear that word.
They don't want to hear that.
Yeah, well, because it hurts. And so I understand that, and I'm very cognizant of that. But
Sure,
just think
I'm sorry. No, I was saying we know a lot of people that don't like to celebrate Mother's Day or Father's Day, or any number of holidays, because it hurts. It hurts.
Yes.
So I think what you're saying is that the reason it hurts is that it's this fundamental query that we have to ask ourselves of who am I? And I know that go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go finish.
I ask myself, here's the question you ask yourself is, do I want to stay this way in the pain, or do I want to just, and I can remember someone that taught me the Course was the same way. They said, and I use this still to this day, I always tell people in classes, don't believe anything I tell you, but don't disbelieve anything I tell you. Trust your intuition and trust your instincts. Because what you may not like is the status quo, is how you feel. And the way you feel so strongly about these words, Father or God or whatever the word is, Mother, that it's because of your own personal experience. Can you just set that aside for a short time? Put it into a little compartment for just a while. I don't want you to ignore it. I don't want you to deny it. I don't want to minimize it for you. I don't want you to believe in anything, but I want you to begin to explore, what are some other options here? If I were to heal myself, what are some of the processes that I can take in becoming more whole? Because I think that's one thing for sure, is we all want to be whole. I don't care who you are. You want that.
Absolutely.
And it never stops.
Yeah.
No matter what age you are, there's still this desire. And that's why at any age you can be so youthful, is because you still want to learn. It's when you give up, then that's when it is. And that's where I try to develop this view towards, I've worked with a lot of elderly people all my life. And strangely enough, as I become more elderly myself, I'm working with younger people. And so it's really wonderful, the dichotomy that I've experienced. And what I notice is everyone is still a child. Everyone is still a child. And so I ran some of my activities in my business. I ran a dance studio for 25 years. And I got people involved in doing all types of what we might call juvenile things and singing songs together. But tell you what, that's what kept them coming back, is the unity. It creates a family.
That's right.
And what does a family need? A family needs someone that takes responsibility, and that one's called the father. So here I was, a 30-some-old guy, being the father for 70-year-old people. And they looked at me as that type of figure.
Father. And that's
because it's still there.
That's the way it is in the Brahma Kumaris too, but with the mother. You know,
Yes.
when the young 16-year-old young girl
Yes.
who became known as Mama,
Yes.
because she embodied those qualities and,
Yes,
and took
absolutely.
responsibility in that way.
Yeah, I'm always, it never ceases to amaze me. And then here's the thing about truth is, that's a truth. And a truth is always going to be true, whether it's on the highest spiritual planes or if it's in a dance studio. That same thing will carry through. So I never really worry about how I'll be accepted or anything like that. I just carry through and then try to, as the parent, you also have to be wise. The father, like the old TV show, Father Knows Best. Not necessarily true, but in this case, the idea of the one who takes responsibility for others based upon his love for his children.
Based upon love.
And they're all, and all the children are different. Some aren't as gifted in some ways as others, but they're loved equally. And so
let me ask you one thing about that, because we're talking about mothers and fathers, and I just want to throw in that those qualities are not necessarily gender qualities. The qualities of the mother and the father could be
absolutely
of any gender. But the point that I think you're making in talking about relationships and the essence of the relationship being love forms a family, forms a community, forms a society, forms a world.
That's so true. I'm just focusing on fatherhood because that's the day, but I have to be equal mother and father.
Yeah.
So
do you know let me just throw in a cute story. Did you know that in the United States, the Father's Day that was created in the early 1900s here was in honor of a single father of 14 children.
Wow.
And one of his daughters, it was right after Mother's Day. and felt that, well, you know what? My father did all of this for me, but we're acknowledging the mothers. So there should be a Father's Day. And sure enough, now we have a Father's Day. But it only came about because the father was actually serving as
Being the mother.
and father.
So it really shows you that how important the mother really is that the
Both.
father represents, it's like law and love.
Yeah.
And father, and like I was saying in my little bit before, you could say the law is teaching, and then love. The right ratio is not equal. It's got to be much more love, so
Yeah.
that then you can learn. Because as Malika said, she's said kindness, patience, and
And
trust.
trust.
That was her own thing, of her own thinking. And then, so not that giving good rules or holding them accountable, or all those things will happen. If I'm doing the others, the rest will come. That's why even with Malika, the way I spent a lot of time with her, just the two of us, and I was short on rules, heavy on love, because you could always learn how to behave. You can learn the rules as you go. But if there's too much law given too soon, then you are kind of damaged and you might lose confidence. It might take you your whole lifetime to learn to get your confidence back. I see it all the time with people that I work with, that what I'm working with is not the issue of learning something. It's the issue of seeing themselves in the way that they can perform or execute something, that they can do it, because they were so much busy on following rules and not on being loved.
Yeah. Let's move to the International Day of Yoga, and talk about the significance of yoga in bringing the world together. You talked about, so many countries that got on board with this, and the fact that yoga, why do you think yoga used to be seen as kind of weird,
Yeah.
until it was imported? And now people see the benefits, people see that we need it, and there's this, great.
Well, there's more people doing it here than anywhere else,
Is that
so
right?
it's really taken on, and people really, what I see is that, having a lot of experience, they all want the experience. And the experience is something that's more than, it's not about, most people think of yoga as the postures. It's more about the things that you go through. It's how you feel as a result of, or while you're doing, and they get kind of like a high doing it, and they want to have that experience more. And of course, that's when people become receptive to what yoga really is yoga just means connection, of course. And so I'm learning to connect my mind to my body, and then I start to explore parts of my consciousness that heretofore I didn't even realize, were there. I thought I had to go out running around down the avenue at night in order to find fun, or running to a different country for a vacation, but just going to a class and breathing for a while. It's again a universal thing that brings your body into more of a harmony with itself, just the idea of breathing itself. And it's something we all could, even Raj Yogis could benefit a lot by just concentrating on breathing. So we become all of it. It's all periphery. You don't need it to become an enlightened soul, but it makes the journey easier and quicker.
Would you say that breath is the thread that connects the body to the spirit?
That's what a lot of people say. I'm no expert on that, but I don't disagree with that, because it is the one unifying thing. So it does. Yes, I would say yes, it does.
Because you hear, many of us have had very deep experiences in Hatha Yoga of experiencing ourselves in a different way.
Yes. Yes.
And that.
Oh, I've had, in fact, in this UN 75 thing goes on, they have this project about the youth, and then one of my Hatha yoga students has come to Raja Yoga and has become a daily coming to class, a Murli class. And she participated in this and made her little 3-minute video to go on this thing that's going on today on yoga and what it's done for her, called Strength and Flexibility. And so I just saw what it did for that one. And so many people have come through. It's a means for people to discover a part of themselves that they hadn't really connected to that much
before. Actually, I wanted to do a little, make mention of this wonderful project that the Brahma Kumaris youth group has done in honor of this. And we're gonna put the link on the Facebook page. Perfect. So that you can go, anyone can go and listen to these little clips from around the world. And even though we're all in our separate places and locked down, this is a wonderful opportunity to connect, yoga's union or connection, to connect with so many like-minded people around the world that we never would have encountered before. And I've watched a number of those, and it's so profound to see, particularly what the young people are thinking about this world today. And the title of it, I think, is Living Lights, and they are.
I know. So again, as that's a generation or two below us.
Yeah.
And so then there's, again, a parenthood or a guardianship toward that of supporting.
Yes.
And just the same way people feel about their, maybe not so much the children, but their grandchildren, it's like, that's definitely unconditional. By the time they get to the grandchildren, they're unconditional because they've gotten past the wanting the child to perform to make them look good. And so this is also in teaching parents as well, is that to learn when to be a parent and when to be a child.
When to be a child.
When to be a parent and when to be a child. And for many of us, spend more time being a child. You know, let me be a parent to my own behavior, that I'm behaving and acting in a responsible way that is a good example of whoever might see me. That's why I've always loved this image of always consider yourself to be on stage, that whatever you do is being seen. So a lot of times I like to follow myself around with a video camera above me, just to make sure that I approve of what is I'm being seen, or just seeing this. I allow my daughter to film me sometimes, just as a means of a lesson. And so here's another yukti that just came up. And even when I'm trying to behave for the camera, if it still comes out. So there's no hiding. There's no hiding whatsoever. So in the same way that sometimes if you see yourself on the video or you hear your voice on the audio, you're not so pleased with it. This is what it's about. So it's about getting to that place where seeing myself and hearing myself, I feel the same as seeing a loved one. That same attitude. So here's the main parenthood to myself, is to parent myself in a responsible way, that the checking part of my process is my parenting. And my interaction with others is the child. Parent myself, interact as a child with others.
Well, that's very interesting.
Just comes out.
It was curious to me that Gabriel said, your son said, make your desires, or make their children's desires your desires.
Yes.
And that's kind of what grandparents do. They're noted for that. So that special grandparent relationship really is among equals with the child.
Well, so then, you know, if you really are in the moment, so again, it's to do with living in the now, this very popular term we have. What it really means is I'm in the moment fully, and I don't have another moment that I'd rather be in. That this moment, Kathy, right now, you and I speaking, is all we really have in life. This is, and other people could be watching. They could also be in it too, dependent on their attention to this moment. But definitely
Mhm.
for us, it's just this. And to the moment that I'm invested in this moment,
Sure.
that's how much I'm going to get out of it.
And this is the benefit of this lockdown, even though we're relaxing a little bit, that
Absolutely.
you and I
Absolutely.
would never have had an
Ne-
opportunity to sit and have this
We've
conversation.
never even had
Too
a
busy.
conversation
We've never
like
had
this.
a conversation. Well, a few
Well,
passing
what I
words
mean,
here
well,
and there.
it's
Yeah.
like that. So what it is what I think we're socially distanced and
Yeah.
globally connected.
And
And
globally
right
connected.
away, when Sister Wadi first brought this up, I said to her, "This is the new version of loving and detached.
Yeah.
Is that we're detached, but now, I was just sharing with someone. I was on a Zoom call with someone from Brazil, someone from Australia, someone from India, and someone from New York, all at the same time.
Yeah.
That I never would have had this opportunity.
Yeah.
And
So that
as a family,
that's a great segue into world peace meditation.
great.
And you said 20 years, but actually I think it's like in the 40s, 40 since
I know,
the
because it's
Brahma
been
Kumar-
before.
time flies. I know.
Time flies when you're having fun.
So as you said, 40 some years here in the USA and longer in other parts of the world that the Brahma Kumaris have had world peace meditation. But because it's global, it's a wave, isn't it? It's a wave in every time zone, in every
Yes.
continent.
I visualize it like that. I visualize the wave coming.
And so even though, there's a lot, I often think about this, the Brahma Kumaris have 9,000 centers in 110 or more countries. And they're all empty now. They're all empty. But the BKs here and globally are more connected than ever.
Absolutely.
And so this wave of world peace meditation is a primary tool for
Kathy,
us to sustain ourselves and the world, right?
the word that you brought up that caught my attention is auspicious. And this very fact that this happening, that even though we have empty centers, we're more globally connected. This is also auspicious.
Auspicious, yeah.
And so we just have to stay very in tune to the moment that are in, so that, and the year is auspicious, 2020. So let my vision become 2020, so I could have farsighted vision, so I know where to walk and move in the future, so my path is free from obstacles.
That's beautiful, Craig. That's beautiful. So it's, I think, important that anyone who's watching, whether it's live or later or some other time, that if you join with us in meditation for even a couple of minutes, you're participating in a journey with people all over the globe, and a mounting group of people, and a growing energy that has incredible power, maybe the most power of anything that we could do. Many people say, what can I do? There's so much sorrow, there's so much going on. I can't really help because I can't leave the house. But this is one way. This is a time when everyone realizes that the old ways aren't working. We have to do it a little differently. And the first thing we can do, you've talked about it, is change the way we see the world, change the way we think about the world. And that's what world peace meditation is about, bringing ourselves to that point of peace, as you said. And then there's nothing to do but share it and use this time to heal the world.
That's so true.
So Craig, any final thoughts? We're going to move into a 30-minute meditation, but maybe you want to offer us some final words of wisdom on Father's Day?
I would say just increase your vision of fatherhood, not just to your loved ones, but the father in terms of the example. Think of the father in terms of being an example and of being responsible, and just have a good vision. See everyone as part of the family. Just experiment with it. Just experiment with it. One person at a time. I bid you goodbye.
Okay.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, everyone. I hope that you will continue to check out some of our classes, and we're here every weekday night and on third Sunday. And we'll be posting the link to the International Day of Yoga, Brahma Kumaris at the UN, and these lovely reflections by BK youth around the world. And also I want to mention there's a series of 21 master classes. As Craig mentioned, these are our senior BK teachers from around the world talking about things that make a difference to all of us, not just to Brahma Kumaris. So thank you all for joining us. Om Shanti, stay safe, and please stay with us as we go into meditation for world peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I see before me the globe of the world. I allow my heart and soul to become unlimited. And I tune into the state of my world. My world is crying out for peace. Especially the many souls who are enduring war or natural calamity. My world is desperate for joy. Especially those who are suffering from disease or emotional trauma. My world is crying out for love. Especially those who are experiencing loss, conflict, or loneliness. For so many, our world is no longer a place of peace and love. Our quality of life is diminished under the influence of inappropriate values and selfish actions. I look upon my world with mercy and compassion. And I create a pure wish for the world to be healed. With my strength of spirit, I send to the world the light and energy of peace. With my loving heart, I surround my world with loving feelings and good wishes. with the conviction of pure values, I create a sincere wish for us all to live and work together in a loving community, living in the highest spiritual values of respect and cooperation. With my generous heart and pure spirit, I unite with the divine presence and love of God. Together, we bless our world. I sense God's peace and love passing through me and caressing the world, nurturing every soul, so that they can restore their own purity, peace, and power. In my mind, I see a joyful world, a world full of peace and love. A world without sorrow, where there is only the exchange of love and respect. I believe in the possibility of such a world. Our world will once again shine with grace. I recognize that I play a part in bringing this world into being. I keep love and respect shining in my heart always. I keep peace and truth in my spirit forever. Some say it's a fool's dream, but I'm not so sure. I see all your faces on my TV, driven and hungry with eyes full of tears, mourning your children, fathers and friends, caught in a war that just never ends. How long will it be till your life is mine, and all I believed in has turned into lies? With all that I am and all that I have, I send you this token, this love from my Oh, I've seen a place much more than a dream, a place of such beauty it hurts just to see, a place of no pain, no crying, no war, where peace is the treasure that has been restored. If I had one wish, it would be this. It would be this.
Om Shanti, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a wonderful week. And let those words, Om Shanti, Om I am, Shanti, peace, be not just words, but an experience. Have a good week. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Mita. Om Shanti and good night.